So I found out that Gracie Abrams was a nepo baby after I already liked her music, which is the worst way to find out because now I have to like be honest with myself, right? I can't pretend like the music was bad the whole time, like I was never moved by it. To be honest, I only really started paying attention to Gracie Abrams after a situation with my niece. I was taking her to get a toy or something, and she asked me to play the That's So True song. And first of all, she knew every single word. She's like 9, and she knew every word, every inflection, every riff run. I was kind of impressed. And I had heard the song before on like a TikTok or something. It was like a TikTok with drag queens or whatever. And I remember hearing it and being like, oh, this song sounds pretty, but not really diving deeper into it. But after my niece asked for it, I was like, let me just, let this marinate. Let me get into it, see if I can, really enjoy this. And to my surprise, I really, really liked the song. So then I kind of slowly but surely started to get more and more into Gracie's music. And then I like realized like, I actually kind of like this. Like her voice is interesting. It's unique. Her music is fun. It makes me feel good. And then I found out that she is the daughter of none other than J.J. Abrams. You know J.J. Abrams. He was the guy who made the Star Trek movies, the Star Wars movies, Cloverfield, Star Trek, Star Wars. And that's where I think this whole Nepo baby conversation genuinely gets super complicated. The internet wants this conversation to be simple, black and white as usual, right? If you are a Nepo baby, bad. You're bad, you're awful, we're not listening to you, we're not supporting you. And if you're you came from nothing, you're a couple of steps above living on the streets, but you release music that's like decently good, then you're good. Then we love you, we're gonna support you like you are, you are deserving of our support. Like we only want to support people who are recording vocals in like their bedroom or their closet or something. And some of us are doing that. Not saying names, but some of us are doing that, just saying. But I just don't think it's that simple because like being a Nepo baby does not inherently make your music worse. It just puts you in a privileged position that most people will never ever even be able to like sniff or have any like access to. And that is the conversation that I want to have today. Hello, if you are new here, my name is Cedric. I talk about pop music and pop culture. And today we are talking about Nepo babies in the music industry. This is not a video basically saying that if you listen to Nepo baby music that you're a bad person, right? I don't believe that whatsoever. And this is also not a video that's basically pretending like, Kai, I need you not to touch the microphone. And this is not a video basically saying that like every, person who had rich or famous parents is like talentless. This is not a video where I'm going to sit here and pretend like I don't listen to artists like Miley Cyrus, Ariana Grande, Willow Smith, or just like anybody else that this conversation often gets attached to. But this is also not a video where we're gonna like sit and act like privilege doesn't matter just because your music is good. Here's the real issue about this whole thing, right? When people are talking about Nepo babies in music, oftentimes they take one of two positions. Position one is if the music is good, who cares where you started? Talent is talent. The songs speak for themselves. The art doesn't know what the artist's family situation is. Like, end of conversation. Let the art speak for itself. Position two is like, no, the path matters. Not because a privileged path makes the music worse, because it doesn't necessarily, but because most people doing this will never have access to that path. And when we all sit here and pretend like everyone is equal and competing on equal terms, we're not really being honest about what it actually takes to break through. I want to state my position very clearly before we continue. Like, I truly believe that being a Nepo baby does not make your music worse, but anybody that is a Nepo baby and pretending that their path is like normal and like anybody can do it or whatever, that is a problem. What I find to be the most annoying truth about this whole thing is like, we have multiple things that exist at the same time, right? The music can genuinely be good, but the privilege can also be real, and the whole thing can be validly frustrating. The frustration can be valid. And I want to talk specifically about Whitney Houston, because up until recently, it just didn't really click to me that she was technically a Nepo baby. And when I found out, when I tell you, it broke my brain. But we will get there. We'll get there. If you have ever loved an artist, loved their music and their artistry for so long, and then you found out they were a Nepo baby and like you just kind of felt let down, like, subscribe. My gut reaction when I find out that an artist is a Nepo baby is just like a general sense of disappointment. Because once you know that someone that you thought was like, a self-starter or, someone who kind of came from nothing actually didn't, and they came from money, connections, industry access, or basically, had the support of their parents who were able to finance their dream, it just kind of breaks the whole illusion that like anybody can make it. We love the underdog story, right? We love the story of an artist who started from nothing, an artist who wrote songs in their bedroom, who posted their stuff online just hoping that somebody would listen to it. Someone who works a normal job, saves up, makes demos at midnight, doing everything that they could do with no support, and somehow they broke through anyway. That story, it feels romantic, like it feels earned. And it's relatable in a way that it makes us feel like this dream could happen to anybody. So when you find out that someone had a parent in the industry or, family connections or whatever that allowed them to basically fast track their journey to get to where they are, it just kind of like punctures a hole in that fantasy. And it's not because they did anything wrong. Like, they didn't choose this life. They didn't choose who their parents are. It's just that most people will never get to dream under those conditions. There's a huge difference between somebody who, is making music while still trying to pay their bills and everything, and someone who like has the freedom and the support to experiment for as long as they want. Most people don't get the privilege of like finding their sound for 3 years, right? Most people are just trying to make sure they get up on time to get to work so they don't lose their job and then, their whole world is shattered. So yeah, it can feel disappointing, but I don't view disappointing as the same thing as dismissal. I don't think finding out that someone's a nepo baby means that you have to stop liking their music. I think it just means that we have to stop pretending like that person's path is normal. But what actually counts as a nepo baby, right? This is kind of where this whole thing gets a little like murky, because it's like some people only count you as a nepo baby if your parent who was like famous or something made a call on your behalf and they were like, hey, this is my son, here's my child, please give them a deal and pretend like this whole thing happened organically. But I think the music industry is so much wider than that, right? Even if your parents are not, super famous or whatever, or they don't have all these connections, or maybe they're not in the music industry whatsoever. Like, I think the simple fact of being rich counts. Because if you have money, like money, you can buy access to the things other artists are begging for. You have unlimited studio time. You have great engineers, better equipment. You can afford things like vocal lessons or funding music videos or, just like your image, a stylist, a publicist, taking time off. You can easily move to cities where things actually happen, like say Los Angeles, New York, or Nashville. And you just overall, you have the ability to fail and try again without your entire life collapsing. For example, if I record vocals in my bedroom using a microphone that I, saved up to afford, and I, try to produce it on my own and possibly have a friend that I went to college with who can maybe help me out with some of the engineering and stuff, versus somebody who was able to afford a professional studio, high quality equipment, their sound is going to just naturally sound closer to the industry standard before we even talk about talent. And that's not me being here like, oh, what was me? Feel bad for me. Not even in the slightest. Like Mariah said,
I'll do the best I can with what I got.
But it's still just a fact that the quality level is going to be different. This is why I don't really separate like famous person nepo and safety net nepo as much as I've seen other people do. Because like at a certain point, money becomes its own connection. Money gets you in the rooms. Money buys patience. Money makes people answer emails faster. And money makes your dream look a lot less delusional to all of the people around you. If we really dive deep into this, like, I don't think that people are pissed because like, nepo babies exist, right? I think people are pissed because the arts in general are just more expensive now. And I don't mean expensive in like the obvious ways, like yes, studio time costs money, music videos, whatever, all that costs money. I mean like the cost of time. It takes time to be bad privately before, the internet gets to see you become decent. And I feel this personally. I'm making an EP right now, and this EP is costing me so much more money than I thought. Like I literally started planning this. Well, it's been in the works for years, but like at the beginning of this year is really when I started to like figure out the finances and putting all the numbers, like crunching the numbers together. And now it's what, July? And it's like, when do we stop adding zeros? Every time I think that I'm done or I'm like ready to go, something else comes up, whether it's another mix or another session or, vocals need to be re-recorded, or I'm doing this project because I've always wanted to do it, like basically my entire life, and that it really matters to me. Even if I also acknowledge that the project is basically just me bleeding money. because there's no guarantee that anything's going to happen from it. And to be honest, like that's not why I'm doing it, but it still would be nice if I got some type of return for the money that I'm putting in to make this dream happen. But you know, it is what it is. So when I think about, you know, artists whose parents can basically fully support them financially, and they don't have to panic every single time that something does not turn out the way that they thought it would, or they have to change something up. Like I get why people get annoyed by this whole thing. And to me, that's the real anger behind this whole nepo baby conversation. It's like, it's not just like, you know, we're mad that your parents helped you. We're mad that your parents helped you in an industry where everybody else is told to just figure it out. And if they're not able to figure it out, then it's just not meant for them. But a point that I do want to make though, is you can have all the privilege in the world, but privilege does not equate talent. Like money helps, you know, connections help, a famous last name helps, but none of those things magically make the music good. And that point is kind of why I cannot fully get behind this idea that like if someone's a nepo baby that we should like just not support them, you know, full stop. Because if a song is bad, like the song is bad. I mean, money can get people to listen to the song once, but once they listen to it and it's hot ass, like they're not going to return to it. Now, I mean, money can make a song be played over and over and over again. And it's not uncommon for a song to get played so many times that now you're like, okay, I think I like it now because I've heard it so much. But, you know, we're getting into like the semantics and whatever. You can buy studio time, producers and everything, but you cannot buy the glue or the magic that makes a song stick into someone's body. There are plenty of nepo babies who have tried music over and over again, and it just is not sticking because they just kind of suck. Because if nepotism alone created all these stars, every single celebrity child with a microphone would be running the charts, right? And they're not. I mean, there's a lot on the charts, but like some of them release music and the public just simply says, no thank you. Nice try, but we're good. So the argument cannot just simply be, you know, nepo babies are successful because of their parents. That's just a little too simple. The better argument here is their parents have helped them get a serious chance, but they still had to do something with it. A nepo baby who uses their head start to create something that is genuinely good, like genuinely breaking barriers, genuinely putting their all into their artistry, like I have to say that I respect that. One of the most interesting examples of this to me is, you guessed it, Miss Whitney Houston. I only found out recently that Whitney Houston is technically considered a nepo baby. And when I heard that, my brain, I had a brain, freak out. I was like, wait, are you kidding? This whole time? Because nobody on earth is going to seriously argue that Whitney Houston is not incredibly talented. Like, you could try, but I would recommend that you stretch a bit first because you're about to embarrass yourself. Whitney Houston's mother was a very respected singer. Her cousin is Dionne Warwick, which is crazy. She came from a family with musical knowledge and connections, and that helped open doors for her. But then Whitney is the one who walked through those doors and became Whitney Houston. And that's where the conversation genuinely gets hard, because it's like, yes, of course she had a head start, but does that change the fact that she has one of the greatest voices that popular music has ever experienced, or the impact that her voice has had on the industry? Of course not. But it does change the story of access, because for every Whitney who had an incredible voice and, you know, had the doors open for her, there are countless other women or, you know, singers out there who have generational voices who just unfortunately were never given access to even sniff or get close to the door. I don't know why I keep saying sniff. Yuck. But that's the part that stings. It's like, it's not that Whitney got a shot. I love that Whitney got a shot. And I love what Whitney did with that shot. The world is better because of what Whitney did with her shot. The uncomfortable part is just that there are so many people out there who will never get the opportunity, the room, the team, the timing, or the chance. And that doesn't make Whitney less great. It just makes the whole system less innocent. Miley Cyrus is another artist where I cannot pretend like the nepo baby label makes her music irrelevant. Miley had a famous dad. She had plenty of access. She was on Disney. Come on now. Like, she had an entire machine behind her. But at some point, Miley became bigger than the machine. The conversation stopped being, you know, oh, she's just Billy Ray's daughter, and it became, oh, that's Miley Cyrus. And I would argue that to a lot of people, she's bigger than her father was. Because it's just, you know, a simple truth that some artists inherit attention and some artists inherit it, but then also transform it. She has the voice, she has the stage presence, and the ability to cover almost any song and make you go, wait a second, do I like this version a little more? Like, that's talent. That's not just a family connection. Willow Smith is another like really good example because like I love Willow Smith's music. I think that she is incredibly talented and she has such a unique voice and style, but it is still true that her parents are incredibly successful. Jada Pinkett Smith and Will Smith, like, are you kidding? She didn't just get like a head start. Like, come on now. But even with that head start, like Willow has gone out of her way to focus on her artistry. She could have coasted on name recognition alone, but instead, she challenged herself, she experimented, and made music that genuinely feels unique to the industry. And as someone who is literally currently watching money just slowly leave my account with every, new song that I'm working on, it is really cool to see an artist who has resources, but uses them to make something interesting instead of just making something expensive just because they can. I think wasting your privilege is annoying, and denying that you have it is just incredibly frustrating. And it just makes the whole thing worse. And this is why I really appreciated the way Gracie Abrams talked about the whole nepo baby conversation. Because from what I saw, she basically acknowledged that the criticism makes sense. She acknowledged that she has a safety net, she has support, and she has the ability to experiment in a way that most artists do not. And honestly, like, I think that's all that most people want. Like, we don't want you to lie. We don't want you to like sit back and like pretend like you're just one of us, But we also don't want like you to go on an apology tour and release a documentary called like, I'm so sorry that my father directed the Star Wars movies. Like, we don't need all that. Just be honest. Because the most annoying thing that a nepo baby can do is pretend like they basically started from zero. Because I think that is what really makes people frustrated. Because it's like, of course your parents helped you, right? I think that is completely understandable that if your parents, or if you, right, if you had a good amount of money, right, you got a good job and you were feeling good and you decided to have a kid, would you not do everything in your power to make sure that your kid was able to achieve whatever they set their mind to? Like, of course you would. Who wouldn't, Like, I saw some people who are mad at Beyonce because she put Blue Ivy on the Black is King album, and I think she got a Grammy for it or something, and they were pissed, like basically saying that she bought her that Grammy. And I'm like, again, if you have access and you have the ability to give your child a head start, I think anybody would, But don't sell us this whole starving artist story when that's just not your story. Don't act like you've been grinding from the bottom when like the bottom has never even been available to you. It really pisses me off when people like pretend like they're crawling through the mud when their parents are the ones who like paid to pave the sidewalk. It's like Gracie acknowledging her privilege made me like her a little more, not less. It didn't erase her privilege, obviously, but it did make the conversation just feel less insulting. Now, the thing that we oftentimes don't say out loud is that, like, I do believe the music industry actually kind of prefers nepo babies over, starving artists or up and coming, started from nothing type of artists. I don't think that labels are choosing to promote nepo babies because they just think that having famous parents is cute, right? I think they're choosing them because they view them as safer investments. If an artist already has a good amount of money and support behind them, the label does not need to start from scratch. If the family paid for, lessons and visuals and years of experimentation and artist development, the label can step in after the work is already partially done. Basically, it's like the family was the first record label, and now the real record label is just coming in and taking what has already been built and expanding on it. And on top of that, if the artist has a famous last name, that's even better because it builds or creates curiosity. People will click just to see if the music is good or bad. And honestly, even if it's bad, hate is a great marketing tool in and of itself. And that's another reason why, the nepo baby conversation is so frustrating, especially for up and coming artists, because it's like a regular artist has to prove that they are worth building. A nepo baby oftentimes arrives already partially built. And the frustration isn't just why do they get attention? It's why are they able to basically build themselves up privately while everyone else has to build themselves up publicly? And that's a different type of privilege. Now, I've talked about a lot of people in this video, and I just want to kind of end the video with just talking about where I land for each specific case that I brought up. So all in all, like, I am not anti-nepo baby across the board. I'm anti-denial, I'm anti-fake struggle, and I'm anti-pretending like every single artist is walking down a similar road, or we all, have the same equal opportunity to become, as big of a star as we want to be. The music can be good, but the advantage still matters. And I think both of those things can be true. And it would be so much easier if every Nepo baby just made terrible music. Then we could all just point at them and laugh and move on. But you know, unfortunately, some of them are really great. Some of them are Whitney Houston. And some of them make songs that your niece knows every single word to while she's sitting in the backseat. So here's what I want to know. When you find out that one of your favorite artists is a Nepo baby, does it change the way that you experience their music? And do you think that being rich should also make you count as a Nepo baby, even if your family or your parents have no connections to the music industry whatsoever? Because to me, the real question is not whether or not Nepo babies deserve to make music, right? Of course they do. The real question to me is why so many other people just can't afford to. But as always, I'm just the guy with opinions. So let me know how you feel in the comments below. I love you guys so much. Thanks for hanging out with me today. I appreciate it. And I will see you all in the next one.